Number 1. Blood detection. Sharks can smell blood from miles away. Every beach safety brochure repeats it. Marine biology textbooks from 1968 through 2001 stated it as fact. The claim justified decades of beach closures and public fear. If sharks detect blood across oceanic distances, any bleeding swimmer becomes a target. But sharks can detect blood at maximum 400 meters under optimal conditions, and the research proving this has been publicly available since 1995. The consensus seems solid. Marine chemosensory studies in the 1960s demonstrated sharks possess extraordinary olfactory capabilities, with up to 2/3 of their brain dedicated to scent processing. Researchers at Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution calculated theoretical detection ranges based on olfactory lobe size and dilution ratios. Biology textbooks from 1968 through 1998 listed shark blood detection as up to several miles. The International Life-Saving Federation's 1975 guidelines stated, given shark olfactory range, bleeding swimmers should evacuate beaches within 5-mile radius. Then in 1995, Dr. Trikas at the University of Hawaii actually measured detection distances in controlled field conditions. Sharks responded to blood concentrations at 400 meters maximum, requiring minimum 1 part per million concentration. Track this back to its source and you'll find a clear culprit. But the persistence? That's systemic. The calculation error originated from laboratory studies extrapolating theoretical maximums without accounting for ocean current dispersion, temperature gradients, and behavioral thresholds. Researchers measured olfactory sensitivity, the minimum detectable concentration, but confused this with practical hunting range. Here's why it became entrenched. The 1975 film Jaws generated $470 million at the box office and reshaped public perception overnight. When Dr. Trikas published his 400-meter findings in Marine Biology in 1995, major media outlets continued citing miles away for another decade. Beach safety materials in California, Florida, and Australia printed the mile-range claim through 2008. As of 2024, 12 US states still use marine biology curricula listing sharks as able to detect blood across miles of ocean. Here's what the actual research shows. Dr. Trikas' 1995 field study tested blacktip reef sharks with controlled blood concentrations. Detection occurred at 300 to 400 meters maximum. University of Miami in 2003 demonstrated lemon sharks required 1 part per 10 million concentration, achievable only within 500 meters under ideal currents. Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution in 2011 confirmed white sharks detect seal blood at roughly 800 meters under optimal conditions, far below the multi-mile mythology. Marine biologists now recognize detection range depends on current speed, water temperature, and concentration levels. This matters because beach evacuation protocols spanning 5-mile radiuses are based on a myth debunked 29 years ago, when the gap between chemosensory research and public safety policy spans 3 decades. We're implementing emergency responses based on 1960s extrapolations. And this same pattern of theoretical calculation becoming accepted fact is exactly what happened with myth number 2. But that physiological assumption is nothing compared to what marine biologists have been correcting for 35 years. Number 2. Constant motion. Sharks must swim constantly or they'll suffocate and die. Every aquarium placard from 1970 through 2005 explained it. Diving safety courses taught it as basic shark physiology. The claim explained why certain sharks couldn't be kept in captivity. Their biology demanded perpetual motion for survival. But over 50 shark species can rest motionless on the ocean floor for hours, and the research documenting this has been available since 1989. The belief appeared scientifically grounded. Respiratory physiologists in the 1950s identified obligate ram ventilation, certain shark species that must swim forward to force water over gills for oxygen extraction. Comparative anatomy studies showed great whites, makos, and whale sharks lack buccal pumping muscles. Marine biology textbooks from 1964 through 2002 stated, pelagic sharks require continuous forward motion for respiration. The American Association of Zoological Parks and Aquariums 1978 standards concluded many shark species cannot be exhibited due to physiological requirement for constant swimming. Then in 1989, Dr. Leonard Compagno at the South African Museum documented nurse sharks, wobbegongs, and angel sharks resting motionless for up to 6 hours, species using buccal pumping to actively draw water over gills without forward motion. The origin traces back further than you'd think, and the reason it survived is even more revealing. Early shark research focused disproportionately on pelagic hunters, species adapted for open ocean pursuit. Scientists observed great whites and makos in constant motion and generalized this to all sharks. The first detailed studies of benthic species didn't occur until the late 1980s, but commercial interests reinforced the narrative. Public aquariums had invested millions in circular tank designs by 1985, specifically engineered for species requiring constant motion. When research demonstrated the majority of shark species could rest motionless, it contradicted decades of facility planning. Marine World Africa USA continued displaying "Sharks Never Sleep" signage through 2001. The California Science Framework revised its shark respiration section in 2016, a 27-year lag from initial research publication. As of 2023, marine biology courses at 40 U.S. universities still teach obligate ram ventilation as the dominant shark respiratory mode. Here's what the actual research shows. Dr. Compagno's 1989 study documented buccal pumping in over 50 species across 6 families. Scripps Institution of Oceanography in 1997 observed Pacific angel sharks remaining motionless for 8 consecutive hours using buccal respiration. University of Western Australia in 2004 demonstrated epaulet sharks can survive oxygen-depleted environments by switching between ram ventilation and buccal pumping. Marine biologists now classify sharks into 3 respiratory categories: obligate ram ventilators, obligate buccal pumpers, and species capable of both mechanisms. Yet the Monterey Bay Aquarium's 2015 Great White exhibit cited constant motion requirement as the primary barrier to long-term captivity. This research has been peer-reviewed and available since 1989. This matters because conservation messaging portrays sharks as fragile creatures requiring specific conditions, when most species demonstrate remarkable respiratory flexibility. When aquarium design operates on 1960s physiology, we're limiting public education about species diversity, and this same pattern of early observation becoming universal rule is exactly what happened with myth number 3. But that generalization pales compared to what attack researchers have been documenting for 38 years. Number 3. Human prey. Great white sharks are man-eaters, deliberate human predators that recognize people as food. Every beach warning sign since 1975 implied it. Shark attack databases categorized incidents as predatory through 2005. The narrative explained fatal encounters as calculated hunting behavior, but white sharks mistake humans for seals through visual misidentification, and the research proving this has existed since 1987. The assumption seemed logical after cultural conditioning. Following the 1975 release of Jaws, shark attack research intensified dramatically. Early post-Jaws studies by Dr. John McCosker at California Academy of Sciences in 1981 documented bite patterns consistent with investigative feeding behavior. Yet popular interpretation framed this as confirmation of deliberate predation. Marine safety materials from 1982 through 2006 warned great whites actively hunt human swimmers. The Australian Shark Attack File maintained predatory attack as a classification category through 2008. Then in 1987, Dr. Timothy Trickus at Florida Institute of Technology tested white shark visual acuity. Their underwater eyesight cannot distinguish humans from seals at typical attack distances of 2 to 5 meters. So where did this myth originate, and why did it persist, despite contradicting evidence? The predator narrative emerged from incomplete data interpretation. Early researchers documented bite and release behavior, but attributed it to taste preference rather than mistaken identity. The theory suggested sharks test-bit humans, decided they weren't palatable, and released them, still implying intentional targeting. Media sensationalism amplified the misunderstanding. Attack coverage generated significant viewership. Discovery Channel's Shark Week averaged 30 million viewers annually by 2000. When Dr. Trickus published visual acuity findings in 1987, news outlets continued framing attacks as predatory strikes. Australian beach safety campaigns used man-eater terminology through 2012. The International Shark Attack File revised its classification system in 2010, a 23-year lag from initial research. As of 2024, beach warning signs in South Africa and California still use language suggesting deliberate human targeting. Here's what the actual research shows. Dr. Trickus's 1987 study demonstrated white shark visual systems resolve shapes poorly in low-light conditions where most attacks occur. University of California studies in 2004 compared silhouettes of surfers and seals from sharks' visual perspective. They're nearly identical. Macquarie University in 2021 used computer modeling to confirm sharks cannot visually differentiate humans from seals at attack distances. Marine biologists now understand white sharks conduct investigative bites to assess prey. Humans simply aren't part of their preferred diet of high-fat marine mammals. Yet Florida's beach safety materials continued referencing man-eating sharks. through 2018. This research has been peer-reviewed and publicly accessible since 1987. This matters because millions in beach closures and shark culling programs operate on a prey preference myth debunked 37 years ago. Emergency response protocols treat every white shark encounter as predatory hunting when visual neuroscience proves otherwise. How many other marine behaviors are we explaining with 1980s assumptions? When public safety policy operates on post-Jaws panic rather than visual biology research, we're funding fear instead of understanding mistaken identity.